And let's get started. Okay, hi everyone. I am Vanessa Greaves. I am the Student and Alumni Engagement Specialist here at UAGC. Welcome back to our 10 Talks series. This is our fourth installment of 2023. And this is brought to you by our Business Administration, Operations Management, and Leadership Club here. Our topic in this series is called Applied Learning, applying knowledge and skills gained from classroom to real-world settings. Our hosts today are Bill Davis. He's the lead faculty of the Forbes School of Business and Technology's BA Operations Management and Analysis program. And we have our assistant professor of accounting, Brandy Havens. And they're actually here to speak with our special guest, Dr. J. Richard Freese, and he is an instructional designer at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Welcome, Dr. Freese. Rich.
Thank you so much. No, this is an honor to be invited. Thank you so much for letting me have the space.
Yes, no problem. We're excited to hear from you. As a reminder, this event is being recorded and it's going to be shared out with everyone in this event, as well as everyone who registered and could not make the live event today. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I will give Brandy Havens the floor to you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And yes, thank you, Rich, for being here with us. We're so excited. As Vanessa said, we're going to record this and distribute this out to our Connect Club. So this is going to reach so many students. And I have to say, when I was reading your bio, I was so excited because you have such a strong background, not only in instructional design, but also the arts. And, you know, we have a thriving College of Arts and Sciences. So I thought this was a great opportunity to kind of make a connection between the arts and the business world as well. So I said, I'm super excited to hear the insights you're going to share with us today. So why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself and what was your vision when you entered college? What were some of the goals you had for yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had, as a kid, I'd always been a strong visual artist. I loved art. I was also, fortunately, math and science I picked up fairly well. And I was actually going to pursue a degree in structural engineering. And about like 2 weeks before graduating high school, I realized like I was just burnt out on my math and science courses. And so the idea of having 4 years of just well, not exclusively, but predominantly math and science courses, I just couldn't imagine it. And at the time, I had just started playing guitar lessons, and I terrified my parents by letting them know, this engineering thing, I'm not really sure about this. But like I just started playing guitar, like my guitar teacher, he this is his full-time job. I bet he does that. I bet I could do that. And so I entered college with what an open mind, because I mean that's a pretty major decision to, like, a couple weeks before graduating high school, change your major, change where you're thinking of college. But I at least was thinking, I'm this pursuing the arts things, that this seems worthwhile. So let's give this a try, and let's see where I'm at by the time I finish college.
Oh, I love it. I think a lot of us can identify with that because I tell my oldest just finished college a couple of years ago, and so I tell my kids all the time that it's okay to reinvent yourself over and over throughout your life. So I think that's amazing that you found a new path that you were so passionate about and enjoyed so much. So when you look back at
Yeah.
your degree program, what were some of the things that you enjoyed most? And what have been some of the things that you've been able to apply in your career?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have faculty at my college. Juanita Becker, I got to give a shout out to my undergraduate advisor. She took me under her wing. It was kind of like you haven't been doing this as long as the others. But I loved my music classes and my art classes. I A lot of that is focusing on being creative, but I mean, yes, you can be creative with on a piano, or guitar was my instrument, or with a paintbrush. But the thing is, we all have something that makes us creative. We all have something that gives us a unique perspective. So no matter what your interests are, no matter what you're majoring in, you have something that makes you see something just a little bit differently. So I was a painter, and a lot of I like painting landscapes, and a lot of it was, yes, everyone's seen a mountain, but how is Rich Frazee painting this mountain? What a lot of that is figuring out what is your unique perspective that nobody else has, but that you have, and that can help shape things. It forced me to be comfortable being in the spotlight. I can remember before college, just the idea of like public speaking just terrified me. And then as a music major, I was giving recitals. So to like get to a point where I'm comfortable like, playing an instrument, that took some getting used to, but it's given me the confidence to put myself out there. As an artist, as a musician, there's so much attention to detail. You spend hours focusing on something you're practicing, like just this one little part, just getting it just right. There's a lot of what I work with, analyzing the abstract, being able to talk about music, talk about art. That's really tough. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And those are skills that I've been able to take me everywhere in my career, especially attention to detail. Every employer wants someone who has a strong attention to detail. Being able to take difficult concepts and present them in new ways or explain them in new ways, those are valuable skills. So I was fortunate. I Again, I went to college a while ago. When I was a freshman in college, I opened the phone book. So again, before we had back when those were still a thing, and I knew I wanted to be a guitar teacher. So I looked in the phone book for the music stores, and I just called everyone until someone said like, yeah, we have an opening. Come on in, Rich. And so by the time I graduated college, I had just enough students to like pay the bills and essentially have my own business. And that just grew with just word of mouth and referrals. And by teaching guitar lessons, I built experience with growing my network, one-on-one communication, being a mentor to people, troubleshooting. Let's say I'd have a kid who like, I'm really having trouble with this chord, and so we'd figure out like, just make some little adjustment. Yeah, just move your finger. There you have it. And just kind of where that has taken me, I love geeking out. So I ended up going to grad school. I got my doctorate in music composition just because I was just fascinated with learning as much as I could about it. That opened a door to be a church music coordinator, where I was recruiting over 100 volunteers every single year, to get them involved, to get them included in things that I was planning. A lot of project management was involved with that. It was like, okay, this week we have these musicians. Even though 3 weeks from now isn't, they're still kind of far out, we still need to like have pieces in place so that that's going to be a success. And just little by little, making connections, I ended up getting a part-time teaching job at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, teaching music online. And that just kind of snowballed until eventually I came on board full-time and have since transitioned into the role of instructional design. For those who are not familiar with that term, I help faculty build their online courses. So that's, I guess, the summary of what I picked up in my favorite courses, the skills I picked up along the way, and how I've been able to adapt those throughout my career with new roles and opportunities.
Well, that's amazing. And, as you were talking about your experience right out of college, I've always said, there is no better way to learn about business and leadership than to be an entrepreneur. When
Yeah.
you are, an entrepreneur, you will by default learn those skills, because you absolutely have to, in order to make your business successful. And
Yeah.
I know that your creative background has given you a wonderful perspective as an instructional designer. As a faculty, my favorite thing in the world is course development and design.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
I have a huge appreciation for our phenomenal instructional designers that we have, because they are able to take some of my ideas and just bring them to life in a way that I couldn't have done myself. So I have a tremendous appreciation for that. So can you describe maybe one or two things that you feel like you gained in your program, or maybe even your career experience, that really prepared you for the management and leadership opportunities that you've encountered in your present career?
Yeah. Whether you're a student, whether you're a professional, wherever you're at, ask for help and reach out to people that you look up to. I mentioned my undergraduate advisor, Dr. Becker, who took me under her wing. And I would just ask her questions like, what do I do about this? Like, here's this concept. Like, can you help me explain this concept? Or even when I started teaching, because she was a very experienced and skilled music teacher. Just those little things. I was also fortunate to just make connections with pros in the industry, people who had been doing this. They'd been doing it for longer than I was alive, when I would catch coffee with them. And it would be just, I'd have my notepad and they would just talk about their career journey. And I would just take notes and they'd offer their 2 cents. One thing that, especially for anyone who's a student or still maybe a young professional, still reach out to those people. They have a wealth of knowledge, and people generally, they want to help you. People just love connecting people with other people. People take pride in, like, yeah, I was able to help support this person, give them an opportunity. Be aware that things change, trends change. So what worked for my some of the things, the pieces of advice that might have worked for like my professors or my mentors, I had to adapt a little bit just because things had changed over the decades. Same thing is very much true. I mentioned I opened up my phone book and looked up the music stores in the yellow pages. Don't emulate that. Please do not try to find a phone book and use that as your opportunity to find your job. But what I will encourage you is whatever resources are available of just tracking down opportunities, adapt it to fit your needs and your situations. But yeah, just having those role models to see, like, he did that, or she did that, they did that. If they did that, like someone else could do that. Like, why not me? And keep growing that network. Keep finding people to learn from.
Absolutely. Networking and mentorship are key. And that's something that that we encourage a lot here at UAGC. So you've already provided our audience with some great advice. Is there any additional specific piece of advice or guidance that you really share with current students? One thing that they need to keep in mind in their journey, or one thing that they should keep in mind as they strive for success in their own career paths?
I would say figure out, find your passions and your soft skills. And by soft skills, I mean those things you develop, like, leadership, public speaking, critical thinking, so that no matter what you studied, no matter what your previous job is, you can take those and you bring them with you wherever you go. And again, one of the reasons I mentioned your passions, if we're passionate about something, the odds are really good that we're going to go that extra mile. And you may not be passionate about every single thing that's going to bring in a paycheck, and that is okay. That is absolutely okay. In fact, sometimes it helps with work-life balance. But if, whether it's that passion where you develop those soft skills, whether it's those courses, be creative. You might learn some concept in one of your courses that you're taking right now. And that course you're taking right now, it may not apply to your future jobs. That is okay. Still, it's you expand the way you're thinking about things. You're expanding the way that you look at problems and how you solve those problems. Again, you have a perspective that is different than anyone else's perspective. You bring something that no one else can bring. I don't know what that is. And you may not yet know what that is, and that's okay. But don't be afraid to bring what makes you to the table. Bring your passions, bring your hobbies, bring your interests. If nothing else, it's a conversation starter with a potential future employee, even if it's like video games, even if it's basketball, whatever. It's something that is you can make conversation about, and just gives you that perspective that I keep talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there are so many, passions and interests that can actually, kind of, you can leverage those and segue nicely into, some other areas and develop skills that you may not even know that you have,
Yes.
so that's great. So you've accomplished so much and your background is so interesting. What does the future hold for you? What is next?
Well, no, thank you for asking. So I'm honored. I'm going to be writing a chapter for a new book, Becoming and Supporting Online Adjunct Faculty in a Gig Economy. I find the concept of video and specifically instructional video just fascinating. Just to go on a little bit of a tangent, like there are people on YouTube who like make careers out of taking deep dives into really geeky but really cool things. And as regardless of if you teach face to face or online, there are things we can draw from that. So I'm curious just to kind of take things that I've drawn from that, things that I've also worked with developing instructional videos for my own courses or supporting them, and just kind of give adjunct faculty some ideas or some takeaways. In the online course, especially the instructional video, it's very common. It's a way to share information. It's a way for students to get to like see their faculty, not just as a computer screen, but like actually see them as people, and just kind of dive into that. And beyond that, I'm excited. I have my first musical gig in a while. COVID stopped a lot of that, so excited to be in a pit orchestra again, and also collaborating with a choir for an upcoming commission to write something that they'll be giving the world premiere of. So excited.
Wow, that is amazing. I also have a huge interest in instructional video to get as well. So you and I are going to have to get together and collaborate on something.
Absolutely.
My wheels are turning over here. Well, thank you so much, Rich.
You are so welcome.
I'm gonna let Professor Davis jump in here. I know he's got some interesting things to say as well.
Well, thank you, Brandy. And, thank you for your passion, Rich and Brandy and Vanessa. The thing that I totally enjoy the most, and I've got some bias when it comes to Dr. Richard Freese, because we have shared the last 3 years together in the ADEIL organization, and then he was even our president. So I feel I know Rich pretty good, and I just got to know Rich even more. And just a couple observations, Rich, that you've inspired me.
Well, thank you.
About courses. You were talking about art. I have to tell you too that my passions, you pretty much know me in leadership and management and all that. But the thing you said, other courses in your program, other curriculum. I got the most out of my art class when I was in my undergrad. And I remember when I first went in there, I said, I'm not going to like this, right? But all of a sudden we started to show pictures and images and forms and content. Yeah. And I learned so much. And you talk about learning styles, visual, auditory, et cetera, kinesthetic. You learn so many different ways. And I've always been inspired with your people skills and the way you can talk to anyone. And, you have a lot of gifts. I want to just kind of hone in on passion, purpose, and strengths a second. Yeah. Do you believe, because I think this is true, I follow Marcus Buckingham, do you believe that people grow the most in their strength areas?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, probably. The reason I say that is, here's one of the things I love about a 4-year college degree, is they make you try a bunch of different courses that you may not have ever taken otherwise. And so I think there's something healthy about trying something new, putting yourself out there, floundering, falling on your face, having to get yourself back up, getting those new perspectives, getting those those new ideas. That being said, so much the abilities that we develop, they stack on top of each other.
Sure.
And so if you do have that specialty, you build that foundation. And then you're able to, especially with your passions, you're able to build on that foundation and go up the next level and the next level and the next level. And so at the very least, I mean, there's something powerful about honing your strengths.
Yes.
And being able to develop. I ended up taking biology and chemistry courses in college. I wasn't good at the labs. I can't imagine wanting to do that again, but it helped me grow. But again, my majors were music and art, and those were my strengths. Those were where I put my passion, and that's where I grew the most. So I think knowing your strengths is very powerful.
And I think your whole curriculum helped you see those strengths. It helped you discover many great things about yourself, and one of them is your leadership and your people skill ability. You talked about soft skills. I've always been a big John Maxwell fan, and I've read some of his books, and he says, for team acronyms, together everybody achieves more. But here's another one. Be tolerant. We're all different. Embrace diversity. Encourage each other. Acknowledge each other. Be mindful that we need each other.
Oh, yeah.
And so my final question, I'm going to turn over to Vanessa then because we got a few minutes. My final question is when you lead a team, you've been very successful, to take a church group and people, and I've seen you in ADEIL working cross cultures and build bridges and explain things to people and so forth. What advice would you have for a leader of any team? What would you tell? Is it model? Is it communicate? Is it empathy? Is it caring? What advice would you give us as leaders as we lead any type of team or department?
Those are all everything, Bill, you just mentioned. Those are obviously like you need all those things. For me, in my lead, as I've been a leader, something that I've been passionate about, and I think it's been successful. Figure out what other people's strengths are. Figure out how they want to contribute, and give them the opportunity to grow. I think of again, Bill and I are we've been members of the Association for Distance Education and Independent Learning, wonderful professional organization. And I had a chance to grow a lot just with opportunities. Like, we need someone to give this a try. Rich, do you think you might be able to do? Like, yeah, right. Well, let's give this a try. And I grew. And as a leader, reaching out to the people on your team and just getting a sense like, okay, so-and-so is really excited about this. Doesn't matter what this is, but make the space for it to happen. Get a stage out there so that it can happen, and let them grow in that space. Because once they've had success in your organization and on your team, they're like, hey, I got to do this and I got really good at it. Here's this other thing that can use some help. I haven't done this before, but I've already experienced success as a part of this team. So I'm confident that I'll be able to continue being successful.
Yes. And Rich, just a final comment, I'm going to turn over to Vanessa, is those that are watching Rich answer these questions, it's obvious to me, and I'm sure it's obvious to you, that he's done the work. He's experienced, on the job, through the job, off the job, in his education. And what a way to be resourceful and to take those nuggets and chunks and apply them. And that's what this is all about, is applied learning. You've done very well, Rich, and I congratulate you. And it's just a pleasure to know you.
Likewise, Bill.
I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing everything.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
I did want to go back and just ask one more question.
Please do. Yeah.
You talked about your timeline of what you were doing. You became a church music coordinator, and then it gave you the opportunity to work at the university. And then you became an instructional designer. So when did you know, did you try that, or did you already know you wanted to do something like instructional designing?
Yeah.
You wanted to do that job.
So part of that was I've been fortunate to have an interest and opportunities to have a number of things going on. I'm going to give this a very quick disclaimer though. Work-life balance is important. So I that was something that I always tried to remember when pursuing new things. But I got the church music job while I was a grad student, and then also while I was a grad student, I had a chance to start online teaching. Now the instructional design, I'd started picking up more and more roles with my online teaching role, including supporting other faculty who are part of our program. And then March 2020 hit. That is when throughout the world, all the shelter in place started. And virtually all education immediately pivoted to emergency remote online courses. And so I was my primary role at this point was as a teacher. That being said, my superiors at UW Madison said, like, Rich, that's great that you're doing it, still doing that online teaching thing, still do what you need to do with your courses. Your priority is to help all these faculty and let them know what an online course is. You know what an online course is and how it works. They need to know. And prior to this, I had been in situations of leadership, of coordination, of support. Like many of us, as we pivoted in those work roles, it was challenging. It was stressful. The analogy that I used was, it's kind of like the ship was sinking, but also on fire. Just with the start of COVID and then that rapid pivot. But I loved the work. Absolutely loved the work. My most satisfying moment was supporting faculty who were understandably very stressed. This was a very, very stressful situation. And just to, communicate like, hi, I'm your department's person, and just to be on that Zoom session. And it's clear that they are concerned. And like, hi, I'm Rich. This is tough. This is stressful. I'm going to be able to share your ideas. If you have questions after we meet, that's okay. Reach out. I'm here to support you. And just seeing the stress level just drop. I mean, it was, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was still stressful, but at least like there was, after those conversations, and we're like, I think we have a game plan. I think we can do this. And that's just kind of where that just created opportunities then to become an instructional designer and work with supporting faculty. But I still get to teach a little bit of online music, and it brings me a lot of joy to be in both of those areas, wear both of those hats.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Everyone who did what Richard did during COVID thank you so much. My sister's a high school teacher, and when everything shut down and had to go to online, she said it was one of the most stressful things ever. They did have outside help come and teach them how to teach kids online, so I appreciate the work that you did to help faculty.
Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to add, Brandy or Bill?
No, I would just tell Rich, keep leading, keep leading by example, leading with empathy, care, acting with compassion. You do that well. I think your modeling speaks for itself, and your acumen, you're very articulate. And again, you mentioned mentoring earlier, and I can't say that enough. The thing that really caught my attention was you talked about the mentors in your past and going back to them. You value them and they're part of your network. So keep it up.
Yeah, which I'll also use that as an invitation to the students who have developed mentors. Reach out to them every few years. Let them know, like, hey, check out this thing I did. Like, here's what I'm up to. Here's what I've done. Here's what I've managed to build off after learning with you. People love that. So whatever you can do just to kind of let your mentors know what you've been up to. They'd love to hear from you.
And not only that, Rich, but you appreciate them, you value them. And I think that comes through loud and clear. Thank you for helping me during this stage in my career and this stage in my life. And I admire that about you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Brandy, Bill, and myself. We're hosting the event. And thank you to our special guest, Dr. Rich Freese, for your time today. We really do appreciate you sharing your story with us and providing us with key takeaways to be able to reach our potential in our educational and career journeys. All registered participants will receive an email with this recording and any resources that we talked about. Feel free to reach out with any questions to us if you want to get involved. If you have any ideas in mind for the next 10 Talk series, we are available. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you so